Hello, my name is Tony and welcome to my shop. Today I have this lovely piece of box elder. It actually came out of a larger blank. It was a cord section. It's been drying for about a year and a half now. It's got a little bit of that pink in it that you're coming to use. So a couple of cracked surface here, and looking around I see a couple little hairlines, a couple spots, hoping that once we get onto this it won't be too deep or anything like that. A lot of pretty figure and some spalting, so I think this should be a pretty piece. Got a knot here we'll probably have to fill. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it up on the lathe here on this inside tenon. And I always put a tenon on the inside before I core the section out. This was the smallest core from that bowl set. I think I've already sold the big bowl on this. Somebody just wanted a big solid bowl, not a full set. And this one was large enough that I felt like I could hold on to it for later and not worry too much about having too small a bowl for sale later. So we'll see if this one will line up nicely. I'm going to spin this up pretty slow to start here so I can get the center in there. Trying a slightly different camera angle. I'm going to put a very small tenon on the outside here. Hopefully we won't lose too much thickness, but we have all that interior of the bowl. It's not like it's a full core, so we should be okay. I'll probably start spinning it at right around 600, 650 RPM, and I'll start with a 3/8 inch bowl gouge. And go ahead and put my face shield on here, the old trusty face shield. I have my microphone going, so I'm hoping that this is a good sound here, that you guys could still hear me no matter where I'm standing in relationship to the piece. And we're going to try this new camera angle. I've had a couple people say they wanted to see more of the tool work, and they really couldn't see that from the other side. Boy, it looks pretty true. All right, let's see what we got. Come in here a little bit. And then we know we have a nice center spot here. We'll go ahead and take a look. Yeah, gonna tear out a little bit there. I'll probably come around. I'm gonna see if you can see. My elbow's gonna be in the way, but hopefully we can come around here and get some nice light cuts and just get it round on the outside first. That is very dusty, so we know it's nice. Oh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? That's going to be pretty. So it's that orange flame in there. Got a little figure here, some burl. But yeah, it didn't go too far out around. I'm going to come around from the other side. Hopefully you can see this in the shot as I come up to clean that top up. See how that looks. Oh, it feels smooth. Yeah, that's nice and pretty. I took a nice cut. Got a little bit of the hairy stuff up here, a little bit to go. And I will go ahead and fill that knot before we get too far into it. But let's go ahead and establish a tenon first here. Get my little pointy gouge out. This is just a Benjamin's Best. Got a little point on it. Super easy to grind. If you're curious how I grind that, I'm happy to do a quick video on that one, but it's a super simple grind. Super simple grind. I don't think I need much deeper a tenon than that, but I'm going to go in a little bit more. And make sure we have a flat surface here. dust. That should be all the tenon we need for that. Nice and strong. No tear out there. So now what I'm going to do is probably move the camera to the other side of the lathe so I can make a swooping cut here, and we'll just establish that outside. This isn't going to take much time at all. But we got that tear out here from the cross grain and the spalt, and I want to take care of that with a nice sharp pole gouge first. So, but you can see we got some beautiful figure and spalting in this one. That's going to take a lovely polish. Let me go ahead and move the camera to the other side so you can see the full shot here. Okay, from there you should be able to track what I'm going to try to do here. Just wanted to get that in one swooping cut. We have some tool lines and stuff, but easy to sand that out. I can even come across it with a shear scrape once I fill this knot in. So next I'm going to do now is go ahead and move you closer here if we can. How's that? And we'll see. Oh, that knot is going to get up out of the picture. Yeah, we'll fill that knot in right there with a little star bond. I'm not going to put any color in that at all. I don't think it's going to need it, but I just want to fill that in and maintain a little integrity. So let's go ahead and grab some medium star bond. And we'll grab a little of the Pinocchio nose star bond accelerator. This is the accelerator I prefer to use, is the star bond with the Pinocchio top. And then the standard medium, oops, let me see where I can get, there you go, standard medium star bond. So we'll just start out with just a wee bit in here. I want to keep as much of that knot intact as possible without it dripping down out of the knot. Because we can make that nice and shiny and make it a feature instead of a really hideous defect. So a lot of times when I'm coring, I will go ahead and, oops, let that one get down there. Oops, Tony. Let me grab a towel real quick so we can get that before it soaks into the, there we go. A lot of times when I'm coring, I'll leave a lot of these defects in and let it dry. And that way, when I get down to the actual turning, I'll have a little bit of extra meat there. And sometimes you can turn them away. This one looks like it goes pretty deep. So I'm just going to go ahead and take care of a few layers of fill until it's nice and proud of the top surface. You guys all know how to do this, so I might just speed up through it. But this was something that took me a while to really get the hang of. Watched a lot of guys do it, and mine never seemed to quite turn out right. And I figured out, oh, you really got to take your time layering it. You got to be proud of your defect. Not proud of it as in pride in your defects, but proud of the surface up here, so you can get a nice smooth angle. What I would end up doing is just end up with a nice stabilized defect instead of something that feels smooth to the touch when my clients would pick it up and hold it. Obviously, another option would be to get some epoxy together, nice clear epoxy. Letting it dry out real good so I don't get any bubbles in there. I can already see a few bubbles on the top surface, but that's already a little proud, so that should scrape off. And a lot of times I can just shear scrape the excess glue right off before I start to sand, and it always seems to turn out pretty good. I've never had anyone complain anyway. So do you guys have a favorite method for filling knot holes? I know that like Richard Raffin would say, hey, life's short, don't turn crappy wood, and turn those defects away. But I have been more prone with the limited amount of timbers I get my hands on, especially something this beautiful. You can see just spraying some accelerator on there, how beautiful that wood's going to be. Man, that is really pretty. I'm trying to see if I have any divots left here. There's one right up here I'd like to get just a wee bit more in. Just a teeny bit. And then zap it with a couple more shots of accelerator and put my glue away. I used to take every one of these knots like this and I'd fill it with turquoise or something else. See the tear out here we're getting when the grain changes direction? Even with a nice sharp tool, we might be able to shear scrape that away. I've got a little lip up here I'm going to need to take care of as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera for a minute, put a nice fresh edge on my 5/8 inch crown with the Irish grind so we can get a little shear scrape on this. I think we're going to leave the foot just like it is. It's going to just sink right into the bottom. Bowl should sit flat and beautiful like that. Be right back. Okay, now from this side, you should be able to see a nice shear cut coming through. That's my plan here. Put my face mask back on. Again, I'm close up to the to my blank here. I'm going to adjust my angle a little bit so I have a little more support. And I'm turning at 820 RPM. So I'm just taking the wing of the tool gently across the edge. Take a nice, gentle, like almost like what is it? Kent from Turner Wood Bowl. He used to call it giving it just a haircut. You can see that nice dust. That means we should be getting some pretty nice look here. I see a line still. I'm gonna want to pull that, but look at that. There's no tear out left anywhere on that cross grain. So now we have to get up and take care of our plug here, but I want to get rid of that line first. So I usually use the shear cut like this as a refining cut, and to take care of some of the grain that's a little trickier. If I've got a lot of grain, a lot of figure and something heading a lot of different directions, we'll stick these nice, easy shearing cuts. I'm not in a rush. This isn't a production company here. We're just out enjoying ourselves. You can see how that makes a difference. See, from there to there, looking really good. That'll be an easy sand. Now we're going to get up into this rough stuff, and we have to get past our glue. So let's we'll take a bit of a push cut on the glue, just on the outside here. Standard bevel riding cut. You see how our glue looks. Feels good to my fingers. There you go. We got a nice, no grooves, no holes, no pits. So we'll go over that now. We'll adjust the tool rest a little bit, a little higher and around here to the edge. So we can get a nice, clean shear cut across there. It'll be on the other side of the tool rest, obviously. And just floating, just like I'm giving it a light shave. Think of it as a straight razor shave for your bowl. You can feel it wanting to pull right here, so only one direction's working. When I was first learning how to do that, I had a couple of catches because you really got to ride it in the right spot. Let's see how that tear out grain looks. See? Nice and easy. Still a little pit here, a little bit of tear out, but I think we'll be able to sand that out real nicely. Really nothing else to say about that. That's just beautiful. So I'm going to move to power sanding. I'm going to start at 120 and I'll work my way up to 400 on this. I'll turn on the dust collector and turn off, well, I will leave it running. I'll generally just speed up the sanding because I know how folks feel about sanding. I know how I feel about it. And most of the turners that I like the best do not spend all of their time showing you how to sand. They're showing you the cuts they're making and kind of the thought processes behind them. I just moved my lathe heater panel over there. Grab some. Okay, now it is ready for our shop shine, or a grit actually, and then we'll put some shine on there. I think that's going to pop real nicely. If you notice, I sanded it in both directions on these. On box elder, I generally sand in both directions. It seems to give me a nicer finish. So we're going to get a little of our shop grit out here, still low speed, just going to get some on the whole thing. Again, our grit is a recipe I got from Woodworking McDaniel style. And it has been my primary go-to in the shop now for well over a year. So first you work it in, get the speed up after that. Just kind of making sure it's in everywhere. And then we'll switch to cleaning it off. You take a nice clean section of the towel. So we've got one here. We just go across it until we have no more grit coming off. Good. And we'll switch over to the actual shop shine, which is the mineral oil beeswax finish. Again, I only put these kind of utility grade finishes on these types of bowls. Occasionally, someone will ask for something with a big high gloss shine on it, which really is not my kind of my go-to, but I can put a lacquer on and do the wet sanding and stuff if that's what people really want, or put on multiple coats of Danish oil. But look at that. That's just the wood. Little beeswax. You can see some beautiful chatoyancy in that area that was giving us trouble before with the turning. The knot is clear as glass into it. Again, not a gallery. This isn't a gallery finish. It's still a utility finish. I'm just going to kind of melt in some beeswax, carnauba, mineral oil, little lemon essence, and get a nice shine on it. This is a very easy to maintain shine. It's an easy to maintain bowl when you have this finish on it. Just going to wipe on a little beeswax and mineral oil. I usually give these little tins away when someone buys an expensive bowl. If not, something less expensive, I generally have them for sale at my booth. But, $6, $7, you get a little 1 ounce, 2 ounce tin of the shine. People use it on their cutting boards and utensils, as well as the utility bowls they use to serve in. That right there is pretty much the standard finish that I would put on just about everything that comes out of my shop, aside from gallery pieces. And that's just a lovely natural piece of wood. Look at that. Hopefully that's coming across in the picture. Okay, now we'll flip it around, core it out. Well, if not core it, we're just going to hollow it, establish a nice rim on it. I don't think I'm going to do any other embellishments on this, although it's a very pretty piece of wood. If I were to put a seashell embellishment or something in that rim, I might pick up a little more interest at the next show. So let's see when we turn it around. But I think just having a full size, let me go ahead before I do that. We're going to get rid of that little nub and flatten our tenon. Even though it's a shallow tenon, I still want as little of that nub as possible. And let me get my air compressor out, turn back on the dust collector for a minute, and we'll blow this off. I think one of the best $40 I've spent in my shop in a while was getting an automatic hose reel for my air compressor so I can just get it out of the way when I don't need it. Oop, I forgot to turn on the dust collector. just hanging up on my tall tool rest over here. I usually take off as much of that nub as I can with the little pointy gouge. So let's just get a little flatter back here. So it comes time to take off the tenon and turn this into a beaded foot. This is how I normally, you guys have seen that kind of my signature foot is a bead with some texture. Do that. I come in from the angle here on the side. Put that nub down. And I can always just hit that with a chisel. But since we have everything set up over here, and you should be able to just peel that down. And we have a nice foot ready for us to flip the bowl around. Now I will most likely leave in the tailstock at the beginning. There's no point in getting rid of it if it's not in your way. So to start, it should be easy for us to flip this around. Use the tailstock to recenter it. And we still have a little nub there. Probably could have flipped that around again and poked a little hole in it, so when we go to center it and take the tenon off, we have something a little better. I should have this tenon size just to be a nice perfect fit. And again, I will crank a little pressure in there, loosen it, crank a little more, and then give it a full tight we're going to use here. We should be able to keep our tailstock support on for the majority of this hollowing. This isn't a huge bowl. It's only, what is it here? Let's get a tape measure out. That's an idea here. Yeah, it's going to only be about an 8.5 inch bowl. So it's not a big sucker, but it's a very common size that sells well at the shows. People like this size. I'm probably looking at this, could have gotten one more core out of it when I was coring this originally when it was green. I don't like to core dry wood. I've tried and it's a nightmare. So let's go ahead and turn the speed down to about 800. Get our face shield back on and our 5/8 inch bowl gouge. And we'll clean up that rim. Looks like we have about 1/8 of an inch of play in the rim. I just want to make sure that rim is good. When you hear the nice clean writing of the bevel, take one teeny passage in. Hear that? That's nice and level. Okay, now with box elder, because it does tend to tear out when it's dry, especially when it's highly figured, I have a tendency to take much smaller cuts. So I take the smaller cuts when I'm going down. I just listen to the tool, how it's sounding. You know, there's a lot of turners who would already have this bowl hollowed out, but that's just not my style to go super fast. I'm sure that if I had a production order, I would take a lot more time, or a lot less time, excuse me, trying to get some of this stuff done. This is a day after work. Get out in the shop, enjoy my hobby, enjoy my time, get to talk to you guys a little bit. I'm not in a big rush. So I'd like to just kind of practice my cuts, see if I can get a nice cut. Start in, roll all the way around. Let the tool do the work. You don't want to put too much pressure in. Kind of ride your hips. Let the tool ride on your hip. So that cut got a little too aggressive. Take real nice little cuts. You can just kind of sweep around each time. You don't have a lot of tool lines. Let's take a look at how our cuts are finishing. Even though this bowl's nowhere near its thickness, I want to see if we're getting any tear out or anything. We're not, except for that same figure spot. You can see the knot is also going to have that red fungus staining color in it from the box elder, which is going to be pretty when we get to it. I'll take a little more of the center mass out here. See how beautiful that is. Just beautiful shavings, big and thick and everything. So I'm just trying to get those on there nice and smooth. You can hear the knot rattling against the inside of the tool as you get around that knot. We have to be careful. We don't want to have a blowout there where that knot is, but we've glued it in really good on the other side, so I don't think we're going to have a problem. You can also feel the tool getting really hot because this wood is dry. Pretty aggressive cut there. Now this is the part where I usually get my wife to come tell me if she thinks it should be a thick rim like this or a thinner bowl. I still have about a 3/4 of an inch to go on the bottom there. You can see how that knot here has got the staining in it. Once we get to close to our final dimension, we're going to have to fill that a little bit. But boy, that wood is just beautiful. Grab the wife and see what she says. Hold on. Okay, we got the art expert over here telling me, what do you think?
I think you should do half the thickness.
Half the thickness of this rim? So about right to there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. No undercut, just swoop it all the way down?
Swoop it all the way down.
All right, that's what we'll do then.
It's a pretty piece of wood.
Yeah, we lucked out. Thank you. All right, you heard it, guys. Half the thickness. So pretty soon I'll be moving over to a smaller bowl gouge and take finer cuts, but first let's get half that thickness away. Whoa, how's that for a catch? There's some serious instability there. Let's take a look at the wood and see what caused that instability. I can still feel something there. Okay, so our grains go in multiple directions up here on the rim, so we need to take super light cuts. All right. Okay, time for me to go ahead and sharpen up. Be back in a minute. Well, we are back after multiple days. I ended up right when we started hollowing this out. I stopped to go ahead and do my, add an edge on there. My son called, and I spent that afternoon on that call, and then we just kept moving through other things throughout the week. So here we are back at our bowl. Shop's a nice comfortable 58 degrees right now, and we're ready to finish hollowing this out. So let's just get to it. I have my solutions crown full gouge here. This is another one by Hurricane, but it's really fine. You can see the bowl went a little out of round over the last couple days. And again, just like we started, I am just working on taking small passing cuts. I'm going to go ahead and clean up this rim that went a little out of round. I'm not afraid of it being a little oval, but I do want to make sure that we have all that out of the way. So I'm going to come down here at a slight angle, keeping our wall thickness, and then we'll finish hollowing down to that spot. Nice swooping motion. Feel a little bit like Bob Ross singing his pretty trees. Slow swooping motion. If we stop, we'll see those just nice cuts. I do feel a little something in here. Yep, the difference in grain pattern there. And of course, we have our knot. We're getting close to where I want to fill that knot. A little mineral pull out there. But you can see that's a nice cut. Now it's just going to go easy. Pretty soon, I'm going to have to take the tailstock back. I'm running out of room. Make sure we got a good tight there. Yeah, got a little loose. We'll sit down here. Just want to make sure that we're good when we pull the tailstock away. We'll hog this down when we get there. I'm going to go ahead and make that next pass. And again, just riding the bevel all the way down smoothly. So get a nice cut. I'm going to come up here. We'll try to get a pretty kickback. Cut was a little bit aggressive to make a pass at the bottom here. So I'll go ahead and make it in 3 passes. Take a look at how that looks. I think we'll have a nice and uniform there. We got a little bump right here, but that's okay because we're gonna have to come back after we hit our that with a little CA glue and fill that in. We'll take care of that little bump. That's bouncing off of the knot, and there's a little knot right in there. And I'm going to go ahead and leave that center mass in while we fill that up. So I'm going to pull the tool rest off and get our star bond like we used before. So I'm just going to use medium and the standard spray bottle Pinocchio style. This is going to want to run because we're fighting gravity here. So I'll put very little in at a time. Make sure that we're covering everything. We don't want any cracks coming up into the rest of the bowl. And again, we'll take multiple small fills with that, and I'll let it dry. In there, light cut. If we're dry, I can feel all the way over that. So we should be able to take a really nice pass on there, gently, and I'll probably scrape, do a little inside scrape there. And we can, if we're going to scrape, get a little bit closer in here, I think. Let's just see here's where our knot's going to come over, and we'll just gently scrape right in here. I think should be safe there. And I'm not spinning super fast. I'll take light passes. Getting really nice shavings, a lot of sawdust, which means we're getting a good shear scrape there. Can't feel it when it's spinning by. So that's pretty filled up now. All those cracks are filled. Gives us a nice surface. And we got rid of that bump that I didn't like. And we're about that thickness all the way down. There's a teeny bit here, a little more, but we can scrape that after we get the center mass out. So I'm going to pull around, and I'm going to get the larger bowl gouge here, where we can just kind of rip that out there in big chunks. And once we get to the bottom, we'll take a nice swooping pass once we get the tailstock out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up here real quick. Like always, the smaller passes you take, obviously the longer. But the minute you start getting some vibration, you kind of want to pull out and slow, easy, light pressure, almost self-feeding down. I know some people talk about self-feeding can possibly give you a catch. But the way I'm describing it, it's just letting the tool do the work. I don't need to put a lot of pressure on that. Just hold it down on my tool stop, let it find a groove and a pace that it wants to go down. Just a light pressure attached to my hip basically on the other side. And as long as we're holding that in, get a nice, smooth, even cut. Minimize our sanding. Try to keep it on the same line. And you can see the kind of shavings we're getting. Nice curls. Nothing's tearing out. We pull this off here. Hopefully I got my microphone set up right. Move that up a little higher. See that? That almost doesn't need sanding. Obviously we don't need that part. If we needed that part, it'd be great. We're just slowly getting rid of that. But now we can take some light passes, but I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this entire center mass here. Down to just a little ball. You can hear it once we get past that knot though. Picks up pretty easily. And I'm just keeping it on that same center line. Bevel in. Slow feed. It's taking off a pretty fair amount of material at one time. Once I get to the bottom, I lighten up on my pressure. Use kind of the outboard wing or the left wing of the tool. Take these cuts here. And then we still have quite a bit of material there. Sometimes I'll get my little pointy gouge out at this point too, especially when it starts to get thin and I can feel it moving. I think this will take us down What we don't want to have happen is a break off tearing that grain at the bottom. I can feel it starting to feel a little too aggressive because the angle we're going in at. Okay, we'll go ahead and grab our little pointy, our 3/8 inch with just a tight point on it. And we're going to come in about midpoint here and just slowly work this down. Just because the angle of the gouge will automatically bring it to a point at the bottom. You don't want to get too far over the tool rest though. It's a small, light gouge. We'll come in again, small spot here. Then we can come from the edges here. And from there, we'll grab a 3/8 inch, or actually my 5/8, sorry. And we're going to come in on just under it and apply a little pressure. And there it goes. So that's how we get rid of our nub in there as we're going down. We did get a little tear out, but we have this thick mass here still. It'll take care of that for us. So we'll come in now with a smaller gouge, take our last swooping cuts, and then we'll get to sanding that interior. And like normal, I will speed up through the sanding so you're not stuck watching that. And this doesn't look like a particularly challenging sand either. If you look, it's pretty nice, getting some pretty good cuts there on this box elder. Just such an easy wood to work with. Even when it's got lots of figure and swooping moves and stuff, it's still just a pleasure. I'm going to make sure that we've got a nice tight connection still here. Just a habit to make sure that nothing's going to go flying. You don't want to get this far in a project and then lose your bowl to a bad ding or something. We can get in there quite a bit now. And we'll get out the smaller gouge that we were using earlier. Small, easy passes. You can hear how thin that is now, and also how it wants to flex quite a bit. You can use the left wing to just lift up the nub a little bit. That should be ready for sanding. Got some tool marks in there, but we had a little bit of torn grain right here where all the grains mix together. It's a teeny bit. The rest of this is just figure. We got a little tear out right there. So one of the things we can do when we're dealing with that is we can get a very sharp bowl scraper. I'll probably have to stop and put an edge on this. This is a 19 millimeter, 3/4 inch. I still have a good sharp edge on here, but I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a diamond card. So I have a few of these diamond cards that different grits on them. I'm going to use the heavier grit here, and I'm going to come across the top nice and flat. Whole time just flat across the top. Get that burr pointed down, And then instead of burnishing a burr, I'm going to come up with mine at the angle of the front blade there. Now I can do this on the grinder too, but I didn't feel like setting up the whole jig for it. And we have a pretty good little burr right there. We want to make sure that we're right on center. So I'm going to loosen the tailstock. I've got the tool roughly level. Cutter is right on center. Get our face mask back down, and we'll take very, very, very light pass. And that should give us a nice tear out free surface there. Now all we have to do is sand. So we still have a little bit of a tool mark here, but there's no ridge you can feel with your fingers. So that's should sand out well. And got a little bit of extra weight on the bottom, which is what I like for my bowls, so that when someone puts them down, they aren't going to flop around. That's filled in nice, and you can feel it over your finger. A lot of figure here. Some good color. That's all filled. Yeah, I think we're ready to hit it. So I'm going to start at this at 120 grit, and I'll be using Abranet 3-inch discs. So I'm going to turn on the dust collector, and here we go. Okay, we are now sanded all the way to 400 on the inside, and it's time for my favorite part, getting out the old grit and seeing what we actually ended up with here. I'm going to start with a fresh blue shop towel here. My other ones are getting a little used up in this adventure. So all I do is normally take my towel and I'll fold it over in half, and then half again, then half again. Usually start from there. Little dollop of the shop grit. Started in at a lowish speed, right around 600, about half of our final speed. And just work it into the wood. You can see we're a little out of round now. It's already started to change shape. So I don't have a perfectly round, perfectly dry blank. Get a little bit up here on our rim as well. Careful not to cut myself on the rim because it is going to be sharp at this point. Now you see it's all the way on. The whole thing's covered in that, but it still has the grit. So now we'll crank the speed all the way up, steadying our hand, starting in the middle and just working our way down. Just kind of work it into the wood. And again, this acts kind of like a 800 to 1000 grit sandpaper. And as I work it in, it takes off all the existing grit. So I just fold it over, and we'll work it from the middle, outside of the edge, one pass. We won't go back down on that same spot until we have nothing coming off. And we're nice and clean. So that would now be ready for the shop shine. So look at that. That's just the grit. It's all nice and smooth and pretty. Get some light in there. All those colors still stayed vibrant. Got a couple little bird's eye knots around in here that are quite pretty. I've never seen box elder, and I've actually heard people call it Norway maple, but I've never seen it with just bird's eye. It either has this spalting and some interesting, or this fungus staining and some interesting figure. This is as close to, there's a little burl here, but all these little eyes, really pretty. I'd love to see a bird's eye piece of box elder. I wonder if that even exists. So I'll get a little bit of our harder shine on, turn the speed way down. And I'm just going to coat the whole thing. You can probably see the color coming, the color and the shine going into the camera there. And I usually like to get the whole thing coated on the surface here and then let it sit for about 10-15 minutes. Just going to rub it all the way in, all of our places here. There's our filled knot, nice and smooth and pretty. And I'll come back to this in about 10 minutes and I'll buff it off after it's had a chance to harden up a bit. And we'll buff it up at a very high speed. So I'll be right back for that. Okay, give it some time to sit. Crank that speed all the way up. Steadying myself, creating a lot of friction and heat. Not pressing too hard because we don't want to break the bowl off. I just watch for where my shine's coming in. You can see it melting off, and I roll over the thing, and when I see a nice clean spot here, when I see that no more wax is coming off with my towel, then I know that my job is done. And again, this finish is so easy to maintain for a customer, especially if you're going to use the bowl. And if you're making a gallery piece, multiple coats of poly, stuff like that, gives you a nice, beautiful, hard shine. But for a pretty shine, and still have that organic feeling of I'm actually got wood in my hand, I'm not dealing with a plastic bowl or a plastic covered wood bowl, you get that beautiful look. And look at how all the chatoyancy, I can't tell. Yeah, you can see that dancing around in there. Got that, got a little bit there on our knot. You can see where the CA is in the hole there. This nice stacked ripple. Just kind of as we work our way around, we have our choice of the colors, interesting little pieces of figure. And really pleased with that. That turned out quite nice. So now I'll set up to flip it around, and we'll turn that bottom foot into a nice little beaded, or the tenon to a nice little beaded foot for our bowl. And it'll be ready to sign and give it a final spin on the old spinner. Be back when I'm set up. On it, fold it over a few times. This side feels the best. And then I just put my bowl in there, leave my bowl up against the top. Now remember, we did not keep the little hole, so we might have to futz around a little bit to get a good center on this one. That looks pretty good. And then all I'm going to do is clean off that tenon first. Just get it round. I get out a spindle gouge here. This is a standard 1/2-inch spindle gouge. It's also a Crown product.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to work, cause my boss is a jerk, and I'm not even that paid. I need a change in my life, cause I don't feel alive, and there's nothing that makes me happy. Oh, hold my beer for a minute, I'm about to quit my job, cash in for a ticket. I'm going on a trip, and I don't plan to visit. I'm gonna stay there till I feel like I'm winning all. And this is just the beginning. I need a big change, help me feel like living. I need a big swing, home runs I'm hitting, and I'll never look back, moving on till I get it all. And we all got dreams, we all want things.
Bowl's just a little out of round, and I don't want that to show up in the end use here. So I'll fold that over, and then we'll buff it in. Better to just sand off. I could take a little bit more off, but I don't think that there's any value in getting closer to that because we're pretty shallow. And then I can take my time with a 120 or 180 grit disc on the 2-inch sander to just flatten that out. So after I get that done, I'll flip it around and sign it, and we'll be right back. Okay, you can see I machine sanded that down there, and then I'll pick up a little of these here, and I'm just going to go with the grain. Get hand sand with the finer grits. First I go with the grain, and then I go in a little circular motion. Okay, I've got it signed there. Vilgiata YouTube number 3, box elder 2025. And on that very little bottom spot, I use my go-to for this. Goes over the wood. A little drop of Howard's wax and feed. It's generally all it needs. A couple little drops. Work it into that section there. I'll let that sit over that for a minute or two, and then I'll buff it off, and that bowl will be ready for a spin on the old spinner. All right, there she is. There's our 8.5-inch box elder bowl, straight out of one of the cores of a larger salad bowl. Beautiful flaming orange and red. Some nice little eyes in there from some little bird's eye, a little burl down there. All around, this bowl's got a little bit of everything. Well, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell, leaving me a comment. All that really helps me grow my channel and lets me know I'm adding value and giving you content you want to see. If you don't like what you're seeing, please drop me a note. Let me know what you'd like to see. I'm always looking for input to make things better for everyone. Anyway, hope you had a good time. Now get out there and turn something.